This is Tower Simulator 3. It is an in-depth air traffic control simulation game. As a tower controller, your task is to provide guidance to all aircrafts within your airspace. To achieve this, you will be issuing commands like entering or crossing a runway, assigning taxi routes, and clearing them for takeoff or landing with an appropriate and safe separation both in air and on ground. Before we get started and hopping in the game to show you how it works, we do have to go over a couple of things. Number 1, you do need to know the phonetic alphabet and how to pronounce each number. On your screen now, you can see the full phonetic alphabet that ATC and pilots use. It reads as following: Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, Delta, Echo, Foxtrot, Golf, Hotel, India, Juliet, Kilo, Lima, Mike, November, Oscar, Papa, Quebec, Romeo, Sierra, Tango, Uniform, Victor, Whiskey, X-Ray, Yankee, Zulu. The voice recognition will only pick up these letters if you use the correct phonetic phraseology. For instance, the call sign on your screen right now is as reads November 400 Papa Zulu. An incorrect way of reading this is N400PZ. Another variation of an incorrect reading is as follows: November 400 Paul Zulu. Notice how most of it was correct, but I did not say the correct phonetic lettering for the letter P. It needs to be that specific word. Now to the numbers. Numbers used in call signs, taxiways, and runways are identified using these ICAO phonetic pronunciation codes: 0, 1, 2, 3, or tree, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9er. Anything above that you cannot combine. For instance, the number on your screen would read as 17. The next number on your screen would read as 9er872. And this number would read as tree 65. Notice how I did not say 365. I say each number as its own number. Tower Simulator 3 uses fantasy airlines. If you do want real airlines in this game, you will have to purchase them, and it is a pretty hefty purchase. On your radars and on your strips, you will see different call signs. Each of these call signs have specific phrases that you are going to be using. Usually, on a certain area on the strip, it'll tell you the actual call sign. This is how you will have to address the aircraft to get their attention and to give them a command. There is a set list of commands that are used when playing Tower Simulator 3. You cannot add your own variation. You do have to use these specific words and phrases. A full list of them is available in the description, along with the full start guide for Tower Simulator 3. We will first start with departing aircraft. From the gate to departure. Here is what you will see when you first load in. We will now go over each screen. Clicking F1 will show you a full overview of all your screens, along with the surrounding area, as shown. The F2 key will bring you to your ADERS. This is used to get a full overview of the ground of the airport. It shows you all the taxiways and their corrective lettering, the runways and their corrective numbering, and any other parking gates. As you can see, I can drag this around and I can zoom in, which will show me more in-depth detail on the taxiways. Clicking F3 will bring you to your radar. This is where you will be able to monitor incoming and departing aircraft. Arriving aircraft will be shown on this red line. You will not be able to contact the aircraft until they contact you. Any departing aircraft will go the other way. If their name is yellow, that means that they are still on your frequency. If their name is gray, that means they are no longer on your frequency and are now with departure. Clicking F4 will bring you to the METAR. This shows you all wind information, ATIS information, your active runways, and allows you to turn on the airport lights when visibility is low or it is during nighttime. On here, you can change your runways. You can change what type of aircraft can land on specific runways. And you can see the ATIS. Unless the ATIS is currently set to the live METAR, you will not see any of this information right here. You will only see ATIS, and then the current ATIS code. It is Quebec right now. Pressing F5 will bring you to your strips page. Here you will be able to manage aircraft, and it will allow yourself to track the progress of each aircraft that you are in charge of. Any aircraft that have spawned in on the ground and are looking to depart will be set in the ground departure. The same will go for arrivals, with tower arrival being any aircraft that are spawned in on the final for your airport. This is the one thing that is not necessary, although it is recommended when first starting out to help you manage the aircraft. Clicking F6 will bring you to your command page. This will only be useful if you do not have a microphone and are forced to type your commands. Pressing F7 will bring you to the overview of the monitors so that you can see more of the airport. Notice how I can look around and zoom in to see all the aircraft on the ground. And clicking F1 will bring you back. If you are not happy where your monitors are, you can look around to see there are various other monitors in the tower. Clicking on the monitor with your left mouse will bring you over to that monitor and it will set you up there. Let's go over the full departure process from gate to the air. When an aircraft spawns in, there are two types of things that they will say to you. They will either request a push and start, or they will request a start. There is not much difference to these. A push and start means that the aircraft is requesting permission to start up their aircraft, meaning the engines, and that they need a pushback, which is a vehicle that'll help guide backwards onto a taxiway. Other aircraft will only require a start approval. That means that they do not need a pushback. That means that they only need approval to start up their engines. Let me show you an example of what will happen.
Stuttgart ground, Rainier 2588 with information Quebec, requesting push and start.
So you just heard this aircraft named Rainier 2588. They requested a push and start. Notice how they said with Quebec. That could confuse you. All that means is that the current ATIS information is Quebec, and they acknowledge that they have read everything. Once you have gotten this command, you will tell them that their pushback is approved, and you will give them an expected runway. For today, runway 25 will be where departing aircraft and arriving aircraft will go. From here, I will say their call sign, pushback approved, expect runway, whatever number runway you are giving. This instance, it is runway 25. So I will say this. Rainier 2588, pushback approved, expect runway 25.
Pushback approved, expect runway 25, Rainier 2588.
All they did there was read back the information. This is to verify that they got it correct. In this game, mistakes in the readback are not simulated, although it is best for you to listen to the readback to make sure nothing went wrong with the voice recognition. The aircraft will now push back and they will call you when they are ready to taxi. Taxiing is the process of moving an aircraft on the ground under its own power, excluding takeoff and landing. While that aircraft is pushing back, we can look at where the aircraft is on the ATIS. From here, we can plan how we want their taxi to go. For instance, I see that they are pushing back facing this way. So I'm going to give them specific instructions to get to this runway using these certain taxiways. For today, we are going to have them go Mike, Hotel, November, all the way to Alpha, to runway 25. They will call us now.
Stuttgart ground, Rainier 2588 ready to taxi.
See how they have now called us, and we are now able to see that they are ready for taxi because they used to be a dot, but they are now an airplane. We will now give them their taxi instructions as said. Their call sign, runway number, via, and then all your taxiways, just like this. Rainier 2588, runway 25 via Mike, Hotel, November, Alpha.
Runway 25 via Mike, Hotel, November, Alpha, Rainier 2588.
If they read back as they just did, that means they acknowledge their taxi instructions and a valid taxi route has been planned. If you click on the aircraft, you'll be able to see a yellow line that shows them what route they are taking. There are certain instances where you're going to want to stop an aircraft either right where it's at or at a certain spot. Let's say I wanted this aircraft to stop short of this marking right here because there is an aircraft that needs to get in front of it. I will say its call sign, hold short of, and then the taxiway I want it to hold short of. Rainier 2588, hold short of Lima 2.
Hold short of taxiway Lima 2, Rainier 2588.
This means that their aircraft will stop before this taxiway until you give them further instructions to continue. Let's watch this play out now. Notice how they have stopped, and they will not continue our taxi until we give them the instructions of call sign, continue taxi. That would go as follows. Rainier 2588, continue taxi.
Continue taxi. Rainier 2588.
In an emergency, you may need an aircraft to stop as quick as it can right where it's at. For this instance, you will say call sign, hold position. As soon as the radio communication goes to the aircraft, it will immediately stop until you tell it otherwise. Let's put it into action. Rainier 2588, hold position.
Hold position. Rainier 2588.
They are now going to sit there until we tell them they are good to continue their taxi, with the same way we did last time. Rainier 2588, continue taxi.
Continue taxi. Rainier 2588.
Now that Rainier has made their way to the runway, they are going to hold short of the runway until given further instructions. If you want them to sit on the runway and wait for your command that they are cleared to take off, you will say the following. Call sign, runway, number, line up and wait. For this instance, it would be as following. Rainier 2588, runway 25, line up and wait.
Runway 25, line up and wait. Rainier 2588.
They will now enter onto the runway and hold until you give them clearance to take off. Now that the aircraft is ready to go, you can now clear them to take off by reading the following command. Call sign, runway number, cleared for takeoff. There are multiple variations to the takeoff clearance. For such, you can read to the wind to them by saying wind is number at numbered knots. You can also make them urgently take off by saying they are cleared for immediate takeoff. We will now issue a basic command for takeoff. Rainier 2588, runway 25, cleared for takeoff.
Runway 25, cleared for takeoff. Rainier 2588.
As you can see, they will now begin their takeoff sequence. Once the aircraft is high enough in the air, their aircraft will disappear from the ADIR screen. And a second or two after, they will show up on the radar screen. Let's observe this. As you can now see, that aircraft has showed up on the radar screen. The yellow means that they are still on our frequency. This means that we have to tell the aircraft that they need to contact the departure. For this, we will simply say, call sign, contact departure. It will read as following. Rainier 2588, contact departure.
Departure on 119.2, Rainier 2588. Good day.
They have acknowledged that they are going over to the departure frequency and that aircraft is no longer your concern. Congrats, you got an aircraft from the gate, started up, taxied over to the runway, off the ground, and handed off to departure. We will now cover arrivals. As we can see on the radar screen, there is an aircraft that is now on the final for runway 25. I got this information by first seeing that there was an aircraft on the radar coming in on this red dashed line. The red dashed line is the final approach course for the available runway that they are expecting to land at. Again, this runway for landing was set on your METAR screen. We cannot contact this aircraft until they contact us, saying that they are on final. This will usually happen when the T, known as the which is the aircraft, starts hitting this first dashed line. While we're here, if you click on their name in the strip, see how they have the yellow outline. From here, you can see the green marker. This green marker shows where they are expected to park. This will be vital for your taxi instructions once the aircraft has gotten onto a taxiway. Let's wait for them to call us.
Stuttgart Tower, time error 221 Micron final 25.
Notice how they said their call sign, on final, and the runway. This lets you know what runway they are expecting to land at. It's easy to guess when you are at an airport such as Stuttgart, where there is only one runway. But at an airport like Los Angeles International, it could be vital for you to listen to ensure that you have them landing on the right runway. We can now give them a clearance to land once we acknowledge that the whole runway is cleared for them to land. The golden rule is to never have an aircraft landing on a runway where there is another aircraft. We will now give them a simple clearance to land by saying call sign, runway number, cleared to land. Again, there are multiple variations to this command. You can say the wind, for example, call sign, wind is number at number knots, runway number, cleared to land. We will now issue a landing clearance. Tango, India, Echo, 221 Mike. Runway 25, cleared to land.
Runway 25, clear to land. Time error 221 Mike.
They will now land at runway 25. You are expected to keep this runway completely clear when it is time for them to land. You can have another aircraft take off while an aircraft is cleared to land on the same runway, but it requires you to have a good amount of spacing, ensuring that the aircraft departing has enough time to get up and off of the ground and out of the runway before the incoming aircraft lands. You can now see that the aircraft is about to land on the runway. Once they are close enough and low enough, they will disappear from the radar screen. Now that they have disappeared, if we look on our aiders, we can now see the aircraft on our ground. We will wait for them to fully land, and when they fully land, they will pull off at the next available taxiway. As you can see, the aircraft has now exited onto taxiway Echo. If you want them to exit at a certain taxiway, you would say their call sign, exit at taxiway, and then the letter. This aircraft will now wait for you to give it instructions to taxi. There are 3 variations to the taxi command. You will either say taxi to terminal, taxi to ramp, or taxi to apron. There is no specific one you have to use. You can use whatever one you prefer. For this instance, I will use taxi to terminal. I would say call sign, taxi to terminal via our taxiway. So as you can see, we're going to have them taxi via this taxiway, which is Echo, and then November. You do not have to give them specific instructions on how to get in here. As long as you get them most of the way there, they can automatically get themselves in there the safest way possible. Let's give them their taxi instructions. Tyanair 221 Mike. Taxi to terminal via Echo, November.
Taxi to terminal via Echo, November. Time error 221 Mike.
As you can see, just like the aircraft that was departing, there is a line on the ground that shows them what taxiway they are going to take. You want to be careful and make sure that any aircraft in that same area do not push back or block their way in, as this could cause an incursion. As you can see, the aircraft has reached the gate and will now park up and disappear from your screen. This means that the aircraft is no longer going to need your attention and should now be disregarded. Congrats, you got an aircraft from the air all the way to their gate. This is a very basic tutorial. There are plenty more things to learn, and know that this is a very difficult thing to master. There are plenty more commands that you can use that I did not go over, such as canceling takeoffs, crossing runways, doing go-arounds, and vectoring for missed approaches. There's also a multiplayer function in this game where certain people can act as certain frequencies. For instance, one of your friends could act as the ground controller while you act as the tower controller. If you have any questions from this tutorial, please comment and I'll try my best to answer them in the best detail. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Goodbye.